The silence after battle was always strange. One moment, space was filled with explosions and weapons fire. The next, there was only the soft hum of damaged ships and the quiet voices of rescue crews. Captain Jiho walked through the corridors of the Indomitable, past walls scorched by fire and sections sealed off from vacuum breaches. His ship had survived, but she would need months of repairs. Medical Officer Yoonji had set up a field hospital in the main cargo bay. The wounded lined the walls on emergency stretchers. Some had burns from acid spray. Others had broken bones from violent maneuvers. All of them were being treated by a combination of human medics and Valoran healers who had emerged from the tunnels to help. Jiho stopped beside one bed where Lieutenant Suman was being treated for minor injuries. Her arm was bandaged, but she was smiling. "I should write you up for destroying a perfectly good fighter," Jiho said. Suman laughed. "Put it on my record, sir. I'll do it again if I have to." Near the entrance to the cargo bay, Jiho found High Scholar Velmora. She was tall and elegant, her species known for their grace. She looked nothing like a human. Her skin had a slight blue tint, and her eyes were large and placed on the sides of her head. Prey eyes designed to watch for danger. She had probably never heard another living thing in her life. When she saw Jiho, she approached quickly. For a moment, he thought she might speak. Instead, she did something unexpected. She bowed deeply, a gesture of profound respect in Valoran culture. "You came," she said, her voice soft. "Everyone said you would not. The council, our own leaders, they all said we were abandoned. But you came." Jiho felt uncomfortable with the gratitude. He was a military man, not a diplomat. "We answered your distress call. That's what you do when someone asks for help." "Not in this galaxy," Velmora said. "In this galaxy, species calculate risk versus reward. They vote on whether lives are worth saving. You did not calculate. You did not vote. You simply came." Behind her, Valoran children were emerging from the cargo shuttles. They looked scared but alive. Human crew members were giving them food and blankets. Lieutenant Doyen, still in his flight suit, was sitting on the floor with a group of young Valorans. He was showing them pictures on his tablet, images of Earth. The children seemed fascinated. "Your people are good with children," Velmora observed. "This surprises many species. They expect humans to be only warriors. We're parents too," Jiho said. "Most of my crew have families back on Earth or the colonies. We fight so our children don't have to." Velmora nodded slowly. "The galaxy does not understand this about humans. They see your strength and your weapons. They do not see your hearts." While rescue operations continued, Commander Yuna was dealing with a different kind of battle. The Galactic Council wanted answers. She stood in the communication room, facing a holographic projection of the full council assembly. Dozens of alien species stared at her with expressions ranging from anger to fear to curiosity. High Chancellor Thexel spoke first. His crystalline body glowed with agitation. "Commander Yuna, the human fleet engaged in military action without council authorization. This is a direct violation of the Charter. Explain yourself." Yuna stood at attention, her uniform still bearing scorch marks from a small fire she had helped extinguish. "With respect, Chancellor, we responded to a distress call. The Charter allows for emergency intervention to prevent genocide." The Council voted against intervention. Another ambassador interjected. This one was from the Drix, a species that looked like mobile plants. "Your species ignored our decision. The Council voted to let innocent people die," Yuna said bluntly. "We made a different choice." The chamber erupted in multiple languages. Some ambassadors were outraged. Others seemed impressed. A few looked thoughtful. Ambassador Nari, representing Earth, stepped forward. "Honored Council, let me be clear. The human fleet acted according to our values. We will not apologize for saving lives. If you wish to punish us for this, then do so, but know that we would make the same choice again." Ambassador Krixall of the Paxili rose to speak. He was the same ambassador who had first evaluated Earth decades ago. "I have a question for Commander Yuna. Your fleet faced an enemy that has destroyed 14 civilizations. Yet you defeated them. How?" Yuna considered her answer carefully. "The Krathiks are adapted to fight species from peaceful worlds. They expect enemies to maintain distance, to rely on shields and energy weapons, to follow predictable tactics. We did none of those things. We fought like we were taught to fight on Earth, close, aggressive, and adaptable." "You fought like predators," Krixall said. "Yes," Yuna admitted. "We did. There was a long silence. Then Crixall did something that shocked everyone. He changed the color of his crystalline body to a shade that indicated approval and respect. Then perhaps the galaxy needs predators. The Krathiks are also predators. It seems it takes a Deathworlder to stop a Deathworlder. While the political debates raged, Dr. He-Jin was conducting research that would change the galaxy's understanding of both humans and the Krathiks. She had collected biological samples from dead Krathiks bioships and was analyzing them in her laboratory aboard the Discovery. What she found was remarkable. She sent her findings directly to Captain Jiho, knowing the Council would want to see them too. Captain, I've completed my analysis of the Krathiks' biology. They originated from a Class 11 death world, nearly as hostile as Earth. Their evolution was driven by constant warfare with other species on their planet. So they're like us? Jiho asked over the communication link. Not exactly, He-Jin said. They evolved to consume and expand. Every aspect of their biology is optimized for conquest. But humans evolved differently. We developed cooperation, creativity, and most importantly, empathy. We could have become like the Krathiks. Instead, we became protectors. This information was transmitted to the Council. It sparked a new debate. If both humans and Krathiks came from death worlds, but evolved such different values, what did that say about the nature of Deathworlder species? Back on the Indomitable, Engineer Tae Yang was performing miracles to keep the ship functional. He had been working for 30 hours straight, running on nothing but coffee and stubborn determination. When Jiho found him in the engine room, Tae Yang was covered in grease and looked ready to collapse. Report, Jiho said. The ship is held together by hope and welding, Tae Yang said. Main engines are at 40%. Life support is stable. Weapons are mostly functional. We can limp home, but we're not fighting anyone for a while. Good enough, Jiho said. Take a break. That's an order. Tae Yang nodded but didn't move. Captain, I heard what the Council is saying. That we're too dangerous, that we should be restricted. Are we going to have to give up our fleet? I don't know, Jiho said honestly. But I know this. We did the right thing. We saved an entire species. Whatever happens next, we can live with ourselves. A week after the battle, High Scholar Velmora stood before the Galactic Council. She had been invited to give testimony about the human intervention. Many expected her to simply thank the humans and return home. Instead, she gave a speech that would be studied for generations. Honored Council, I come from a species that has never known war. We study mathematics and philosophy. We believe in peace through understanding. When the Krathiks attacked us, we had no defense. We sent our distress call expecting no answer. The Council voted that we were not worth saving. And in that moment, I understood something about the galaxy. Peace is easy when everyone is safe. True character shows when someone is in danger. She turned to look at the human delegation. Ambassador Nari stood there, along with Commander Yuna and several other officers. The humans came for us. Not because we had anything to offer them. Not because they owed us a debt. They came because they heard someone crying for help and they could not ignore it. You call them Deathworlders. You fear their strength. But I tell you this. The humans are not dangerous because they come from a violent world. They are valuable because they learned compassion despite their violent world. Velmora paused, letting her words sink in. The Krathiks also come from a death world. But they became monsters. Humans became heroes. The difference is not where they come from. The difference is what they chose to become. The council chamber was silent. Then slowly, Ambassador Crixall began to make the sound his species used for applause. Others joined in. Not everyone. Some species still feared humanity. But enough changed their minds that day to matter. That night, aboard the Indomitable, Captain Jiho walked through the memorial hall. Holographic images of the fallen flickered in the air. 217 human lives lost in the battle. Each one had a name, a story, a family somewhere who would mourn them. Commander Yuna found him there. She said nothing at first. They simply stood together in silence, honoring the dead. Did we do the right thing? Jiho finally asked. We saved 3,000 Velerans, Yuna said. We stopped the Krathiks expansion. We showed the galaxy that humanity keeps its promises. Yes, sir. We did the right thing, Jiho nodded. The cost had been high. But some things were worth any price. As he left the memorial hall, he thought about Velmora's words. Humans could have become monsters. Instead, they chose to be protectors. That choice made every day by billions of humans across space was what truly made them different. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Ixtheta. The galaxy had changed in ways both subtle and profound. The Krathiks, who had seemed unstoppable for half a century, had retreated to their home system. Intelligence reports suggested they were rebuilding, but they had not launched a single attack since their defeat. For the first time in living memory, the Krathiks' expansion had stopped. On the rebuilt Valoran colony, High Scholar Velmora stood before a monument made of simple stone. Carved into its surface were the names of every human who had died defending her people. It had become a sacred place for Velorans. Parents brought their children here to teach them about courage and sacrifice. Velmora touched the stone gently, her fingers tracing the name of Commander Minho, who had sacrificed his ship to save others. She had never met him, but his crew had told her stories. He had loved poetry and had a daughter waiting for him on Mars. He would never see her grow up. "We will never forget," Velmora whispered to the stone. "We will never forget what you did for us." Far away in the chambers of the Galactic Council, a historic vote was taking place. Ambassador Nari stood at the center of the assembly, surrounded by representatives from over 100 species. Some looked at her with respect. Others still showed fear. But all of them were paying attention. High Chancellor Thexel raised his crystalline hand for silence. "We have debated for 6 lunar cycles. Now we must vote. The motion is this: to grant humanity full military authority to respond to existential threats anywhere in the galaxy. They will become our rapid response force, authorized to act without prior council approval in emergency situations." There were murmurs throughout the chamber. This was unprecedented. No species had ever been given such authority. But the galaxy had seen what humans could do. More importantly, they had seen what humans chose to do with their power. "Before we vote," said Ambassador Crixall, "I wish to speak." He stepped forward, his body glowing with earnest colors. "I was the first of our people to meet humans. I filed the report that classified Earth as a death world. I recommended caution when dealing with them. I was afraid of what they might become." He paused, looking directly at Nari. "I was wrong to fear them. Or perhaps I was right to fear them, but wrong about what they would do with their power. The humans could have used the battle at Ixtheta to demand concessions to expand their territory, to threaten us. Instead, they saved a peaceful species and asked for nothing in return. I vote in favor of this motion." The voting began. Species cast their votes through their communication crystals. The chamber filled with light as each vote registered. Green for yes, red for no, amber for abstaining. The votes came in slowly. When the final count appeared, Nari felt her heart race. The motion passed. Not unanimously. 17 species had voted against it, and 23 had abstained. But it passed with a clear majority. Humanity was now the galaxy's protectors. Nari returned to Earth a week later. She was greeted as a hero, but she knew the real heroes were elsewhere. She immediately traveled to the Naval Command Center where the Third Fleet was being rebuilt. The Indomitable was in dry dock, undergoing extensive repairs. Captain Jiho was there overseeing the work. When he saw Nari, he saluted. "Congratulations, Ambassador. You won." "We won," Nari corrected him. "You won it on the battlefield. I just made the Council accept reality." Jiho looked up at his ship. New armor was being installed. Incorporating technology from 3 different species, the Council might fear humans, but they were willing to give them the tools they needed. What happens now? Now we expand the fleet. The Third Fleet becomes the 5th Fleet. You're being promoted to Admiral. Your mission is to train a new generation of officers, not just humans. Other species are requesting to serve alongside us. This surprised Jiho. They want to join us? After everything they said about Deathworlders? They're terrified, Nari admitted. But they're more terrified of the next Krathiks. You showed them that survival sometimes requires teeth. Now they want to learn from you. At the Naval Academy on Luna, Commander Yuna was already teaching those lessons. She had been promoted to Admiral and given command of the training program. Her first class consisted of 300 cadets from 20 different species. Some were humanoid. Others were completely alien, requiring specialized equipment just to breathe the same air. Yuna stood before them on the first day, looking at the nervous faces. "I know what many of you have heard about humans. We're violent. We're aggressive. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. All of that is true. But here's what those rumors don't tell you. We're also loyal. We're also compassionate. And we never ever leave anyone behind. She activated a holographic display showing the Battle of Ixtheta. You're here to learn human military tactics. But tactics are not what won this battle. What won was a simple principle. We heard someone in trouble and we went to help. Everything else, all the weapons and strategies and ships, those are just tools. The real strength comes from caring enough to use those tools for others. A young Paxili cadet raised his crystalline hand. His name was Nexil, and he was Ambassador Krixal's grandson. Admiral Yuna, how do we overcome fear? When I saw the recordings of that battle, I was terrified. How do humans fight when they're afraid? Yuna smiled. Who said we're not afraid? Fear is natural. It keeps you alive. The trick is not to eliminate fear. The trick is to care about something more than you fear death. When my friend Suman ejected her power core into that Krathix formation, she was terrified. But she was more concerned about the Velerans hiding below than she was about her own safety. Lieutenant Doyen was also teaching, running the flight school. His classes were notorious for their difficulty. He pushed alien pilots to their limits and sometimes beyond. But those who survived his training became some of the best pilots in the galaxy. On this particular day, he was teaching a mixed squadron of humans and Zenthari. The Zenthari were reptilian warriors proud of their flying skills. They had initially resisted learning from humans, but after seeing recordings of the Valkyrie Squadron's performance at Ixtheta, they had requested Doyen as their instructor. Today we practice high G maneuvers, Doyen announced. Humans can handle up to 9 Gs before blacking out. Zenthari can handle up to 6. We're going to push both species to their limits. One of the Zenthari students, a warrior named Kresh, spoke up. Instructor Doyen, why push us until we fail? Should we not train within our capabilities? No, Doyen said simply. In battle, the enemy doesn't care about your capabilities. They'll push you past your limits. I need you to know exactly where those limits are, so you can recognize when you're approaching them. More importantly, I need you to know that you can recover when you exceed them. He pulled up footage from the battle. Watch this. This is Lieutenant Suman. She pulls a 9G turn here. Her vision tunnels. She's seconds from blacking out. But she knows her body. She knows exactly how long she can maintain that turn before her brain shuts down. So she holds it for exactly 4 seconds, destroys her target, and then levels out to let her blood pressure recover. The alien students watched in awe. Kresh made a sound of respect. This is the difference. You know yourselves. You have pushed these limits so many times that you can fight right at the edge without falling over. Exactly, Doyen said. And that's what we're going to teach you. Lieutenant Suman had recovered from her injuries and was now running the Tactical Simulations Department. She had designed a program that recreated the Battle of Ixtheta, allowing students to experience the battle from different perspectives. Some students played as human commanders. Others played as Krathix leaders. The goal was to understand both sides of the conflict. After one particularly intense simulation, a group of students approached her with questions. One of them, a human cadet named Jiwan, asked, Lieutenant, in the simulation I played as the Krathix commander. I couldn't find a way to counter the human tactics. How would you have fought against us if you were them? Suman considered the question seriously. That's a good question. The Krathix problem was that they had never lost before. They had won so often that they stopped adapting. If I were commanding them, I would have retreated earlier, analyzed the human tactics, and come back with a counter-strategy. Never be so proud that you can't retreat and learn. Back on Earth, Dr. Hyejin was conducting research that would shape the future of human-alien relations. She was working on a project to identify other death worlds in the galaxy and determine if they had spawned intelligent life. Her theory was that death worlds produce 2 types of species, conquerors like the Krathix, or protectors like humans. Her research had identified 3 potential death worlds with signs of technological civilization. The question was whether to make contact, and if so, how to approach them. Would they be friends or enemies? Hyejin was presenting her findings to a council committee when Ambassador Nari asked the critical question. If we find more Death Worlder species, what should we do? We should welcome them, Hyejin said without hesitation. The galaxy has relied on peace through isolation for too long. Peace through strength and cooperation is more sustainable. If we can find other Death Worlder species and integrate them into the galactic community, We'll all be stronger. Captain Day stood at the observation window of the Sejong 7 defense station, watching the red surface of Mars below. He had been stationed here for 3 years, monitoring space traffic and watching for asteroids. It was usually boring work. Nothing ever happened out here in the quiet darkness between Earth and Mars. That changed when the sensors started screaming. "Captain, we have multiple contacts," the young officer at the sensor station called out. His voice shook. "They just appeared at the edge of the system." "Neptune orbit." Dee moved quickly to the sensor display. What he saw made his blood run cold. Hundreds of ships, no thousands. They filled the screen like a swarm of insects. Each one was massive, 3 times the size of Earth's largest warships. "Send the alert to Earth Command," Day ordered. "First contact protocols. Now." On Earth, Dr. Ji-sun received the alert while she was having her morning coffee. She worked at the First Contact Research Institute in Seoul. For 15 years, she had prepared for this moment. Humanity's first meeting with aliens. She had imagined it would be exciting, maybe scary, but she never imagined it would feel like this. Like ice water in her veins. The alien ships did not respond to any messages. Earth sent greetings in every language and mathematical sequence they could think of. The aliens ignored them all. They just kept coming, moving deeper into the solar system at incredible speed. Ji-sun worked through the night trying to decode their transmissions. The aliens were definitely talking to each other. Their language was complex, full of clicking sounds and low frequencies. It took her 12 hours to break the first words. When she did, she wished she hadn't. The word appeared on her screen. Hunt, then another. Prey, then another. Extinction. She grabbed her phone and called Admiral Tae Hwan at the United Defense Fleet headquarters. "Admiral, I need you to mobilize everything." "Right now." "Dr. G, we're already moving ships into position," Tae Hwan replied. His voice was calm, but she could hear the tension underneath. "What did you find?" "They're not here to talk. They're here to hunt us, to kill us all." Admiral Tae Hwan sat in the command center, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet. They called themselves the Realm. His intelligence team had managed to intercept more transmissions. What they learned made everyone in the room sick. The Realm had done this before. Many times. 47 times to be exact. They traveled the galaxy looking for intelligent species. When they found one, they studied them. They learned their weaknesses. Then they hunted them. Not for food, not for resources. For sport, for trophies. Every species they found was eventually wiped out. Extinct. Gone forever. Earth was number 48. Taiwan looked at the tactical display. The Vrelen had already passed Jupiter. They were moving toward the inner system. Toward the human colonies on Titan and Europa. Toward Mars. Toward Earth. "How long until they reach the colonies?" he asked. 6 hours, sir, his tactical officer responded. 6 hours. That was all the warning they had. On Titan, the colony went silent first. 2,000 people lived there, mining ice and producing fuel. The defense satellites detected Vreln ships landing. Then all communication stopped. Just static. Europa was next. 3,000 colonists, families, children. The last transmission was someone screaming. Then nothing. Captain Day watched it happen from his station. He felt helpless. His station only had light weapons designed for shooting down small asteroids. Nothing that could stop those massive alien ships. "Captain, incoming transmission," his communications officer said. "It's from the Vreln mothership. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it on screen." The face that appeared was not human. The Vreln looked like a mix between a wolf and an insect. Sharp teeth, multiple eyes, armored skin that looked like it could stop bullets. The creature's mouth moved and words came out in broken English. "Humans of Earth, your species has been selected for the Great Hunt. This is our tradition. For 200,000 years we have hunted. We have never failed. You are weak. You are prey. The hunt begins when we reach your world. We give you this warning so you can prepare. Run if you wish. Hide if you can. It makes the hunt more interesting." The transmission ended. In the command center, Admiral Tae Hwan stood up. "Send this message to every military base, every ship, every soldier on Earth and in space. We are at war. Total mobilization. Every resource, every weapon, every person who can fight. The Vreln think we're prey. Let's show them what happens when they hunt the wrong species." Dr. Ji-sun continued working through the night, translating more Vreln transmissions. She learned about the other 47 species. She saw images of proud civilizations reduced to trophies on Vreln walls. She read about species that tried to surrender, tried to negotiate, tried to run. None of it worked. The Vreln always won, but as she dug deeper, she found something interesting. All 47 species had one thing in common. They were all prey animals, herbivores. Peaceful species that evolved eating plants, avoiding conflict. They built their civilizations on cooperation and harmony. Humans were different. Humans evolved as hunters. As predators, Earth's history was written in blood and war. Humans knew how to fight. They knew how to kill. It was in their DNA and their history and their nature. The Vreln had hunted prey species for 200,000 years. They had never encountered a species like humanity, a species that would fight back. Jisun smiled grimly as she sent her report to Admiral Tai Huan. Maybe the Vreln had made a mistake this time. Maybe they had chosen the wrong prey. On Sejong 7, Captain Day gathered his crew. They had 40 people on the station. 40 people against thousands of alien ships. The odds were impossible. But Day looked at each face and saw determination, not fear. The Vreln are coming, he said. They think we'll run. They think we'll hide. They've hunted 47 species to extinction. They expect us to be number 48. He paused and looked out the window at Earth, that beautiful blue marble hanging in the darkness. But we're not going to run. We're not going to hide. We're going to fight. And if we die making sure they remember us. We show them that humans don't go quietly into the dark. The crew nodded. They moved to their stations, preparing weapons, charging shields, ready for the battle to come. The Vreln fleet drew closer. Earth's military forces mobilized, millions of soldiers prepared for war. Ships launched from orbital docks. Weapons were loaded. Prayers were whispered. The hunt was about to begin. But the Vreln had no idea what they were hunting. Admiral Tai Huan stood before the holographic star map in his command center. Red dots marked Vreln territory. Blue dots marked human-controlled space. For 200,000 years, the red had grown and grown, consuming species after species. But now, for the first time, the blue was pushing back. Operation Fang is ready to launch, his tactical officer reported. All fleet groups are in position. Tai Huan studied the map. Dr. Jisun had decoded the locations of the Vreln colony worlds. 43 planets scattered across their territory. Each one was defended, but none expected an attack. The Vreln had always been hunters, never prey. They did not prepare for someone hunting them. Launch the operation, Tai Huan ordered. Show them what it feels like to be hunted. Commander Yang Li led strike. Group Alpha toward the Vreln colony world called Kresh. His fleet consisted of 30 Guardian-class warships and 100 smaller vessels. It was not a large force, but it did not need to be. Kresh was a hunting colony, where young Vreln learned to track and kill. It had light defenses. Entering the system now, his navigator reported. The Vreln defense fleet at Kresh consisted of 12 ships. They moved to intercept the human fleet, confident in their superiority. They outnumbered the humans and had better technology, but they had not fought humans before. Yang's fleet hit them like a hammer. The Guardian ships were fast and powerful. Their human weapons combined with Vreln shields made them deadly. Within 20 minutes, all 12 Vreln ships were destroyed. Not damaged. Not disabled, destroyed. Land the ground forces, Yang ordered. Secure the planet. Lieutenant Kai, now promoted to major, led the ground assault on Kresh. His Marines dropped from orbit in assault pods, landing near the main Vreln settlement. The aliens came out to fight, expecting easy prey. They found soldiers who had been fighting Vreln for 5 months. Soldiers who knew every Vreln weakness. Soldiers who were very, very angry. The battle was over in 3 hours. The Vreln colony surrendered. It was the first time in their history that a Vreln world had fallen to an enemy. Kai walked through the conquered colony, looking at the Vreln buildings. On the walls he saw mounted heads, trophies from the species the Vreln had hunted to extinction. 47 species, all dead. Captain Han, come look at this, he said into his radio. Captain Hanji arrived with her team. She looked at the trophy room and felt sick. How many species died here? All of them, Kai replied. Every species the Vreln encountered. They killed them all and mounted their heads on walls. Han noticed something else. Glass cases filled with data chips. What are these? One of her soldiers examined them. Genetic samples. DNA from all the extinct species. The Vreln kept records of everything they killed. Han immediately contacted Admiral Te Huan. "Sir, we found something important." The Vreln kept genetic samples from all 47 extinct species. "Every planet we take might have more samples." Tai Huan was quiet for a moment. "Secure all genetic material. Transport it back to Earth. If we survive this war, maybe we can bring those species back." Strike Group Beta, led by Captain Day, attacked a Vreln mining world. Strike Group Gamma hit a military outpost. All across Vreln space, human fleets appeared without warning, struck hard and vanished. It was exactly what the Vreln had done to other species for thousands of years, but the Vreln had never experienced it themselves. Dr. Rin Mi monitored Vreln communications from Earth. The psychological impact of the attacks was enormous. Vreln civilians were panicking. Their military was confused and disorganized. Fear spread through their empire like a disease. "They're experiencing terror for the first time," she reported to Admiral Te Huan. "Their society is built on the idea that they are the hunters. Now they're being hunted and their minds cannot cope." "Good," Te Huan replied coldly. "Let them feel what they did to 47 other species." The Vreln Grand Fleet finally arrived at the edge of the solar system. 3,000 ships. The largest military force the Vreln had ever assembled. The Emperor himself commanded the fleet from his flagship. "Destroy the human homeworld," he ordered. "End this species. They must not be allowed to exist." But the Grand Fleet found something unexpected. Earth was ready. Admiral Te Huan had spent 2 months preparing. Humanity had built 300 new Guardian-class warships. They had placed weapons platforms throughout the solar system. They had laid minefields and traps. Every human ship, every soldier, every weapon was ready. "They're coming," Te Huan said to his assembled captains. 3,000 ships. They think this ends with our extinction. Let's show them how wrong they are." The battle began at Neptune's orbit. The Vreln fleet advanced in a massive wall, expecting to sweep aside any resistance. Instead, they hit the first minefield. Hundreds of Vreln ships were damaged or destroyed before they even saw an enemy. Then Commander Yong Li and his stealth ship squadron attacked. 20 invisible ships appeared inside the Vreln formation, launching torpedoes at command vessels. Chaos spread through the alien fleet as ships exploded without warning. The main human fleet engaged next. 300 Guardian ships against 3,000 Vreln vessels. The odds were terrible, but humans had something the Vreln did not. Desperation. This was their home. Their families were on Earth. There was nowhere to retreat. Captain Day's ship, the Sejong, was in the thick of the fighting. He targeted Vreln carriers, the large ships that held fighter craft. His crew worked like a machine, firing weapons, managing shields, repairing damage. They destroyed 3 carriers in the first hour. "More contacts incoming," his sensor officer shouted. "The Vreln are committing their reserves." "Let them come," Day replied. "We're not backing down." On Earth, Dr. Ji-sun coordinated the communication warfare. She hacked into Vreln networks and broadcast footage of their ships dying. She sent messages showing Vreln colonies surrendering. She made sure every Vreln soldier saw what was happening. The psychological impact was immediate. Some Vreln ships stopped fighting. Others retreated without orders. The proud hunters were breaking, but the Vreln Emperor would not accept defeat. He pushed his fleet forward, demanding that his warriors fight. Thousands of Vreln and humans died in the massive space battle. Ships exploded. Lives ended. The darkness of space was lit by the fire of war. Major Kai watched the space battle from Earth's surface. He and his Marines were ready to fight if any Vreln ships got through. But as the hours passed, he began to see the truth. Humanity was winning. "They can't believe it," one of his soldiers said. "They're actually losing." Kai nodded. "They hunted 47 species to extinction. They thought they would do the same to us. But we're not prey. We're predators, just like them, and we're better at it." The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Vreln Grand Fleet was destroyed. Of the 3,000 ships, only 200 escaped. The rest were debris floating through the solar system. Admiral Te Huan stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the casualty reports. Humanity had lost 140 ships. 70,000 people were dead. But they had won. The Vreln invasion was broken. "Sir, incoming transmission," his communications officer said. "It's from the Vreln Emperor." The hologram showed a broken creature. The proud Emperor looked defeated, his multiple eyes dim. "Humans," he said slowly. We did not understand what you were. We have never encountered a species like yours. We wish to negotiate a ceasefire. Tai Huan looked at the alien who had tried to exterminate his species. No. What do you mean, no? You hunted 47 species to extinction. You came to Earth expecting to make us number 48. You did not offer negotiations. You did not offer mercy. Why should we offer you what you refuse to give others? The Emperor's face showed fear. Real, genuine fear. What do you want? Unconditional surrender. Your empire dissolves, your hunting culture ends, and you will help us bring back the species you destroyed. That is impossible. Tai Huan leaned forward. You have two choices. Surrender or die. Choose quickly. The transmission ended. On the Vrellan homeworld, the Emperor sat in his throne room surrounded by his advisors. For 200,000 years, his species had been invincible. Now they faced extinction at the hands of the species they tried to hunt. We must surrender, one advisor said. The humans will destroy us otherwise. The Emperor looked at his hands. We hunted them. Now they hunt us. This is justice. He opened a communication channel to all Vrellan ships and colonies. This is your Emperor. I order the complete surrender of all Vrellan forces. The war is over. We have lost. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. The war was won. Humanity had survived. But Admiral Tai Huan did not celebrate. He looked at the star map, at the red dots marking Vrellan worlds. The hunting had to end, not just for Vrellan, but for everyone. The galaxy needed to learn that hunting intelligent species was over, and humanity would be the one to teach that lesson. The human fleet surrounded the Vrellan homeworld. 200 ships hung in orbit, weapons aimed at the planet below. For 200,000 years, the Vrellan had been the hunters. Now they were the prey, staring at extinction. Admiral Tai Huan called a meeting of his senior officers aboard his flagship. Captain Day was there. Major Kai had been brought up from Earth. Commander Yang Li came from his stealth ship. Captain Han Ji represented the assault teams. Dr. Ji Sun joined via video link, as did Engineer Na He and Dr. Rin Mi. We need to decide what happens next, Tai Huan said. The Vrellan have surrendered. Their Emperor has ordered all their forces to stand down. We have won the war. Now we must decide what kind of victors we want to be. They tried to exterminate us, Major Kai said immediately. They killed 47 species before us. They deserve the same fate, do they? Captain Day asked quietly. If we exterminate them, how are we different from them? The room fell silent. It was the question everyone had been avoiding. Dr. Ji Sun spoke from the video screen. I have studied the Vrellan for 6 months. Their entire civilization is built on hunting. It is their religion, their culture, their identity. But here's what I learned. They are not evil. They are what evolution made them. Apex predators who never met another predator. That does not excuse what they did, Kai argued. No, it does not. Ji-sun agreed. But understanding why they did it helps us decide what to do now. We can destroy them and become the very thing we fought against, or we can show them a different way. Engineer Nahi spoke up. I have been working with the genetic samples we recovered from Vrellan colonies. Every extinct species is there. Complete DNA records. We can bring them back. We can undo what the Vrellan did. How long would that take? Tai Huan asked. Years, maybe decades, but it is possible. Dr. Rin Mi added her thoughts. The Vrellan are psychologically broken right now. They cannot process what has happened to them. This is our chance to reshape their culture. Not through force, but through demonstration. Show them that strength does not require extinction. That power can be used for creation instead of destruction. Commander Yang Li had been quiet, but now he spoke. I lost my family in the first week of the war. My wife and daughter were on Titan when the Vrellan attacked. I have every reason to want revenge. But I also know what my daughter would want. She was studying to be a teacher. She believed in helping people learn and grow. If we exterminate the Vrellan, her death means nothing. But if we teach them, if we change them, then maybe something good comes from all this death. Major Kai looked at his hands. They were the hands of a soldier, scarred from months of combat. I have killed hundreds of Vrellan. I watched them burn cities and murder civilians. Part of me wants to finish them. And the other part? Captain Han asked. The other part remembers why we fought. We fought because we refused to let evil win. We fought to protect life. If we become exterminators, then evil wins anyway. Just a different kind of evil. Admiral Tai Huan listened to his officers. These were the people who had fought the hardest, lost the most, suffered the worst. If they could consider mercy, then there was hope. Here is my decision, Taejuan said. The Vrellan Empire will be dissolved. Their government will be replaced with one that we supervise. Their hunting culture will be banned. They will pay reparations in the form of resources and technology, and most importantly, they will help us resurrect the 47 species they destroyed. What about the Vrellan Emperor? Day asked. He will stand trial, not for execution but for justice. The galaxy needs to see that hunting intelligent species has consequences. 2 weeks later, the Vrellan Emperor stood in chains before a galactic tribunal. Representatives from Earth attended, along with observers from other species who had heard about humanity's war. The Emperor looked small and defeated, nothing like the proud hunter he had been. You are charged with genocide, the judge read. 47 species exterminated. Trillions of individuals killed. How do you plead? Guilty, the Emperor said quietly. I plead guilty to all charges. The courtroom was silent. No one expected the confession. I led my people in these hunts, the Emperor continued. I believed we were superior. I believed hunting was our right. I was wrong. The humans showed me the truth. We were not superior. We were just bullies who had never been stopped. The sentence was life imprisonment. The Emperor would spend the rest of his days watching the resurrection of the species he destroyed. He would see them live again. It was a punishment worse than death. On the first sanctuary world, Dr. Ji-sun oversaw the resurrection project. The planet had been terraformed to support multiple environments. Forests, oceans, deserts, mountains. Each extinct species would have a home. The first resurrection was the Kalani, a peaceful species that had been hunted 40,000 years ago. They were small, furry creatures that communicated through color changes in their skin. The Vrellan had found them easy prey. Ji-sun watched as the first Kalani opened its eyes in the cloning facility. It looked around, confused and afraid. She approached slowly, speaking gently even though it could not understand her words yet. Welcome back, she said. You are safe now. No one will hunt you anymore. Over the following years, all 47 species were brought back from extinction. It was slow, careful work. Each species needed its own habitat, its own resources, its own protection. But humanity was patient. Engineer Na-He designed defense systems for the sanctuary worlds, shields that would protect them from any attack, weapons that would shoot down any ship that approached with hostile intent. The resurrected species would never be prey again. Major Kai, promoted to colonel, commanded the peacekeeping force that patrolled the galaxy. Human ships traveled between star systems, watching for any species that might try to follow the Vrellan's example. The message was clear. The age of hunting intelligent species was over. Captain Han-Ji ran the training program for the new Galactic Security Force. She taught soldiers from multiple species how to fight together, how to protect the innocent, how to stop predators before they could kill. Commander Yang Li became an ambassador, traveling to different worlds and telling humanity's story, how they were chosen as prey, how they refused to die, how they defeated the Vrellan and then showed mercy. Other species listened and learned. Captain Day retired from military service and became a teacher. He taught young people about the war, about the cost of survival, about the importance of mercy. His ship, the Sejong, was placed in a museum as a reminder of what humanity had achieved. Dr. Rin Mi continued studying galactic psychology. She helped other species understand themselves better, so they would not repeat the Vrellan's mistakes. Her research became the foundation for a new field of study called predator ethics. Admiral Taejuan remained in command of Earth's defense fleet. He never forgot the cost of the war. 70,000 humans had died defending their world. Millions more had been wounded. He visited war memorials every week, reading the names of the dead, remembering what they had fought for. 50 years after the war ended, Taejuan gave a speech at the United Galactic Assembly. He was old now, his hair white, his body tired, but his voice was still strong. 50 years ago, the Vrellan Empire tried to exterminate humanity. They chose us as their 48th victim. They expected us to die quietly, like the 47 species before us. They were wrong. He paused, looking at the assembled representatives from dozens of species. Some were resurrected species brought back from extinction. Others were new species that had joined the galactic community after the war. We fought back. We fought harder than the Vrellan expected. We fought smarter. We fought with everything we had. And we won. But winning the war was not our greatest achievement. He gestured to the sanctuary worlds on the star map behind him. Our greatest achievement was showing mercy. We could have exterminated the Vreln. We had every right to do so, but we chose a different path. We chose to be better than they were. We chose to resurrect the species they killed. We chose to teach instead of destroy. A young Kalani representative stood up. Her species had been extinct for 40,000 years before humanity brought them back. Admiral Tehuan, on behalf of all the resurrected species, we thank humanity. You did not know us. We were dead long before you existed, but you brought us back anyway. Why? Tehuan smiled. Because we could. Because power without mercy is just tyranny. Because the universe needs more life, not less. Because 47 extinctions were 47 too many. The assembly erupted in applause. The Vrellan representative, a young female named Ara who had been born after the war, approached Tehuan. My species did terrible things, she said quietly. We cannot undo the past, but we are trying to build a better future. Thank you for giving us that chance. Tehuan put a hand on her shoulder. Every species deserves a chance to be better than they were. Even the Vreln. On Earth, Sergeant Bin-Ha was now General Bin-Ha, commander of Earth's ground forces. He stood before a group of new recruits, young men and women who had been born after the war. You will hear stories about the war, he told them. Stories about heroism and sacrifice. Stories about humans fighting impossible odds. Those stories are true. But remember this. We did not fight to become conquerors. We fought to survive.